The studio lights were bright and the audience was laughing happily. A young woman sat center stage on a popular TV show, listening to three bachelors behind a curtain. Bachelor number 1 cracked a joke that elicited chuckles from the crowd. Bachelor number 2 gave a strange answer that made the audience laugh nervously. The host smiled warmly, keeping the atmosphere lively, and the woman picked her date, choosing bachelor number 2. The audience applauded enthusiastically. What no one in the studio knew, however, was that the man she had just chosen would later be exposed as a serial killer, and the chilling question investigators would ask years later was how a murderer ended up on national television while he was still killing. A number, a name, an account that cannot be undone were behind this sinister story. Tonight's entry, ranked number 88, Rodney Alcala, known as the dating game killer. This is Behind the Veil Truths, revealing hidden truths behind notorious crimes. Act 1. The first signs begins in 1968 when a highway patrol officer in Los Angeles noticed something unusual. A young girl had just run into the street, crying and scared. A man had been chasing her across the sidewalk. The officer followed the man to an apartment nearby, sensing trouble. Inside, investigators found an 8-year-old girl who had been assaulted and left unconscious. The suspect had already fled the scene before police arrived, but police knew his name, Rodney Alcala. The first question investigators asked was simple. Who was this man, and how had he nearly gotten away so easily? What they didn't yet realize was that this encounter was just the beginning of something much darker. Act 2. The pattern emerges as women began disappearing across California and New York throughout the 1970s. Student women, teenagers, young women approached in public places all fell into the pattern. Many had been photographed shortly before they vanished, raising disturbing suspicions. Witnesses later recalled that the man who approached these women seemed charming and friendly. He told people he was a photographer looking for models, which was how he gained their trust. Rodney Alcala carried a camera almost everywhere he went, but investigators would later discover it was part of his method. The photographs he took were disturbing, featuring hundreds of images of young women and girls. Many of these victims have never been identified, creating a chilling mystery. This raised a terrifying question. How many victims might there be that no one had ever connected to Alcala? Act 3. Investigation and mistakes reveal a pattern of failure and slip-ups. Despite earlier charges, Rodney Alcala repeatedly slipped through the system and served short sentences. He moved between states, making tracking his crimes difficult. Each time he was released, the pattern seemed to continue with new victims. Then came the shocking moment in 1978 when Alcala appeared on the television show The Dating Game. He was introduced as Bachelor number 2, smiling and joking with the host. He flirted with the contestant, displaying charm that hid his dark intentions. He won the date, and the audience cheered for him. The woman who chose him later said something about him felt unsettling and off-putting. She refused to go on the actual date, sensing something was wrong. Years later, investigators reflected on that episode in disbelief, because during the time Alcala appeared on TV, he was already suspected in multiple murders. He was living a double life, hiding his true nature behind a charming facade. If you follow investigations revealing how criminals sometimes hide in plain sight, consider subscribing to Behind the Veil Truths. The final chapter of this case would reveal just how many lives Alcala may have touched or destroyed. The story of Rodney Alcala remains a haunting reminder that evil can sometimes wear a familiar face. His case continues to fascinate and terrify, a grim testament to the darkness lurking beneath societal masks. Behind every seemingly innocent act, there's a possibility of something far more sinister, hidden from view. And the question that lingers, how many victims are still waiting to be found or identified? Rodney Alcala's story is a stark warning about the dangers of underestimating those who appear charming and harmless. His name is etched into the annals of crime history, a symbol of deception and deadly concealment. In the end, his story reminds us to be vigilant and cautious, even in moments of laughter and lightheartedness. Act 4. The discovery begins in 1979 when 12-year-old Robin Samso disappeared while riding her bike in California. Witnesses saw a man photographing children on the beach that day. The man was Rodney Alcala, and police searched his storage locker for clues. Inside, they found hundreds of photographs depicting young women, teenage girls, and children. Many of these images were unidentified, and some investigators believed they might be victims never reported missing. This discovery led to another chilling question. Was Rodney Alcala responsible for far more murders than anyone could prove? Act 5. The arrest, trial, and aftermath detail. Alcala's eventual conviction of multiple murders. His trials spanned decades, including appeals and retrials, which kept the case ongoing long after his crimes. In the end, Alcala was sentenced to death in California, but the mystery of the full extent of his crimes remains unsolved. Investigators continued reviewing photographs he left behind, and families worldwide asked if someone they loved was among his victims. Rodney Alcala died in prison in 2021, but questions about the true scope of his crimes persist. Before closing this case, if you value deep investigative storytelling, subscribing to Behind the Veil Truths helps sustain this series. As this countdown climbs higher, the stories only become darker and more disturbing. 8 victims confirmed and 8 lives stolen. Rank number 88 is behind us, but the descent continues, revealing even darker cases ahead. This is Behind the Veil Truths, as we approach number 1 on the list. Next episode, the number changes again, but the killer didn't appear on television this time. He hunted victims along a lonely road, leaving investigators chasing a trail across an entire country.